for young kids at home, homemade math in the
Batteries,
summer.
remember your breakfast, remember your plugs, and don't forget to bring your glasses if you need.
This is another craft that we could make. It's called a student in college. It's a practice SAT. And so the idea is, if you're in the 9th grade or you're in the 10th grade, the ACT is ticket to college. Time test, wear a watch. Are my glasses. So let's say that I
Joining us today on Homemade Math. Hello and welcome to Homemade Math, the ACT edition. And this year, the window of opportunity is March the 11th through the 13th in the Fayette County Public Schools. With me again is my co-host, is Natalie Feast, who is also the specialist for Fayette County Math. I'm Judy Conrad, and we're going to get started right away with the question we always start with, but it's always important. What's the ACT?
The ACT is the American College Test. So given throughout the United States, it's an opportunity to earn money for college. So some people say, Ms. Feast, it's a ticket to college, but I always say it's a ticket out of college. So ACT, American College Test.
Now, who could take the test? Just juniors?
This is a tricky one because in the state of Kentucky, the legislators, we pay for every junior to take it. But guess what? In Lexington and Fayette County Public Schools, we pay also for sophomores. But you could take the test if you were a freshman, if you're in the 7th grade, if you're an adult. Anyone can take the ACT.
Now, I mentioned about a window. So I want to explain to our friends what we're talking about with March 11th through the 13th this year.
When we offer the ACT in Fayette County, we take it on a Chromebook. So at your school, you'll take it on a computer. Because we take that on a computer, it's really challenging to do every student at the same time. So we offer it in a window, which means perhaps I go to Douglas. I'm going to be taking the ACT on Tuesday, but Judy, you're at Lafayette. You go on Wednesday. At STEAM, they're offering it on Thursday. We just know it's going to be sometime during pie week. So maybe on test day, you have your moon pies for breakfast, maybe. But during pie week, we're taking the ACT.
Good. One thing I do want to remember to thank our legislatures and Fayette County Public Schools, but particularly legislature, because seriously, they were one of the first in the country that decided to take care of all of our students, and that's a great thing. Keep it up. I'm glad they're doing it. Now, if I'm a student, what do I need to bring to the test, and what should I not bring?
So what I have today is this baggie that, no kidding, is the same Feast Boy baggie for Will and Nate whenever they took the ACT. There's several things that we do want to bring. And number one, if you're a person who wears glasses, we are definitely wearing our glasses on ACT day. Not contacts. It's a 3.5-hour exam. You're staring at a computer screen. You want to make sure that you have your glasses on that day. In addition, in that baggie are a lot of important things, including your calculator, including your sharpened pencils. I even put in there a banana because you may want that for a snack. You may want to have a banana.
And what do we need this for? What do we need a clock for?
You need to wear a watch because we want to make sure that we're monitoring our time throughout. So I put a clock in there as a reminder, and then sharpened pencils. This is homemade math. These are things that on test day, you must bring your sharpened pencils and maybe even a click eraser. I know the Feast Boys, we like our click eraser because you have plenty of eraser that you're going to be working with. This is a baggie for test day. When we come to school on test day, one thing that we know we always talk about not bringing would be your phone.
Your phone. Not allowed to bring a phone into the test.
No cell phones. And you might be saying, well, I really want to use my calculator on my iPhone. Nope. So on test day, no phones, but we do also want to bring extra batteries. And we didn't talk about batteries, and I thought, this is a day when we're bringing a calculator.
You got several types of calculators here, which are very good to show. Different types of things that you want to bring, but you want to make sure you have it working.
That's what I was thinking of. Maybe you have a calculator that needs a charger cable, kind of like my cell phone. I have to plug in my cell phone to get it charged. Some kids, you may have a calculator that has to be plugged in. Parents at home, we can certainly remind that. Or maybe if you have batteries, we want to bring extra ones because that's not the time to be having a dead battery.
Now, what have we got here? What we want to make sure we eat. Even if we're not somebody who eats, why is it we want to make sure you've got something in your stomach that day?
When we come to school on test day, during that window, during pie week window, whenever that happens to be, we're going to make sure that we eat breakfast because this is a 3.5-hour exam. On test day, you come to school early. You want to be thinking about, I need to be prepared all the way through. And like you said, Judy, a lot of kids will be like, I'm too cool for breakfast. Like, I don't eat breakfast, Miss Feast. But you do on that day because you want your mind to be alert. So maybe you did scoop of peanut butter on toast out the door. Maybe parents, that's the day, make eggs, do whatever. But make sure to eat breakfast that morning. And finally, we want to make sure that you're bringing your confidence. Because on test day, this is a very important day. Arrive early, know where you're going, bring your confidence and your supplies.
And if you have any questions beforehand, don't be afraid to ask before you get to the test. Don't wait till you get to the test and say, should I have brought this or that? It's too late.
And parents can call the school
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
You're allowed to.
Now,
encouraged.
What does the math test? What does the math test look like? What's it going to cover?
The math test is very special, and here's what we have to know for the math test. The math test is all multiple choice. Every item will be multiple choice. It's going to start out and it's going to be very pre-algebra in nature. You're going to have things like percent. There will be a fraction question. We're going to add maybe 3 different fractions with different denominators. There's going to be percent. There's going to be things that start out with pre-algebra going up through algebra 1. So knowing, for example, equation of a line, knowing how to find slope given 2 points, find the equation of a line given slope and a point, all the way through geometry and algebra 2. So the test is multiple choice, and it has everything that we've learned already in school.
Okay. Well, now we're going to play a game. You put this little game together. So let's
do
go
it.
on over here and sit down for a minute. And I'm going to ask you these questions, and then you're going to tell us whether it's true or false. And I think this will help folks understand it, plus have a little fun while we're doing it.
Okay, let's go.
So we'll have our own little quiz show here, so this ought to be good. All right, first question. Even if students don't plan to go to college, should they still take the ACT test and want to do their best?
Yes, true, truth. Always, even if you're not going to college, remember this. You get an interest inventory, and it says this will be a great career for you, but even better, your ACT score stays with you for the rest of your life. Do a great job today.
Okay. Next question. Since the items are on the computer, students can read and complete the math questions in their heads. Is that true or false? Oh,
False.
false.
We do not want to do items in our head. You bring your sharpened pencil. You work those problems out because that decimal sometimes will move on you in your mind and you were thinking. And so we want to work the problems out.
Okay. Is there a time limit on the math test?
Yes, there is a time limit. And the time limit is 60 minutes. So true, there is a time limit.
Okay. Since there is a time limit, you've got 60 questions and you got 60 minutes.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, true.
So that's true.
60 minutes, 60 items. True.
Should you spend 1 minute on on each question?
No.
Okay.
We're not going to spend 1 minute on each item. And here's why, Judy. The easier items are at the beginning. So you want to go faster at the beginning.
Faster at the beginning, so you've got more.
So you got more
for-
time at the end.
Okay. If you do not know how to solve a question, should I just skip it?
No, we do not want to skip a question. And here's why. Every item on the math test, they all count the same. So the first questions that are easier count the exact same as the ones that are harder, and there's no penalty for guessing. So answer every question.
And you may answer it correct if you do answer it. It's worth a try.
True.
Okay. Yeah, there's a target math score for the students, and it's not based on 100 points. So help us understand that a little bit.
True.
Is that true?
When you take the ACT, it's not like I got a 90%. No, it's a scaled score. And so let me show you like how that happens to work. The math score, I'll just talk you through it. But the math score is so you've got 60 questions, and if you get a perfect score, you get a 36. So, but let's say, well, Ms. Feast, what if I get half of the questions right? If I get 34, well, then you're going to get a 22.
A 22.
So it's a scaled score that maybe if you want a 19 on the math test, you answer 27 out of 60 correct.
Okay.
So it's a scaled score. It's not out of 100. Good job.
Okay. True or false? Math formulas are provided. False.
False. This is a big one. Some people may think,
I thought possibly,
no, you have to memorize. There are over 75 different math formulas. There are 10 area formulas. There are, you got to think about knowing the difference between area and perimeter. You also need to know like area of circles. Like go back and remember all this. You're like, I don't remember, Miss Feast. Remember, there's also circles like how many degrees in a triangle, finding the interior angles of a polygon. lots of formula for slope we talked about earlier. So memorizing formulas is something that that we really need to do. Maybe go to your teacher, because your teacher will probably have an ACT formula sheet for you to practice. But over 75, there's 6 different volume formulas. So over 75 formulas, we want to make sure to memorize those at home.
Now, is it true or false it's going to take a while to get the ACT results?
True. It'll take about 6 to 8 weeks to find the score. So remember that.
Okay, now we've talked a little bit about calculators and that, but here's our last true-false question. Since the test is on the computer, we don't need to have a handheld calculator. Big false on this.
Big false. But people think that all the time. They'll say, oh, Miss Feast, it's on the test on the computer. I'm just going to use the Desmos. But here's the thing. You're allowed, and matter of fact, the ACT says bring your handheld with you, because you know your calculator. You know where the buttons are. So when you get ready to do something and you need square root, you know exactly where it is. Or you need a trig function. You know where your sine, cosine, tangent function, you know your calculator. You can bring a scientific, you can bring a graphing, you can bring a fraction calculator, you can bring any handheld you want. Now there are some that you're not, and so we'll put a graphic up that say, these are calculators that are allowed, these are calculators that are not allowed, but anything that we use at school is fair game.
It's fair game. Now, on the ACT, the 2 biggest areas that are covered are in reading and math, and I think we can figure that one out. But for those of us that wonder, well, why is math so crucial to these students? Why is this such an important part of this test? And parents and students sometimes get, why is that?
Whenever you send your scores to college to get accepted, colleges will ask you for 2 scores. They ask you for your ACT composite, and they ask you for your ACT math score. That's why it's so important. You send 2 scores whenever you go to apply to any college. You send your composite ACT and you send your math ACT.
Now, how do you raise the math score for another score later on? I mean, if you do a retake, how are you going to raise the score? Let's say I don't do well on that test.
Sure.
So I want to take it again. Now, the next time, of course, parents again, we'll talk about that a little later about paying for it, but how do I raise that math score so I improve on the next time?
2 questions. You increase your score every time you answer 2 additional questions correctly. Your score increases by 1 point.
Oh, that's
doable.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So if you want to increase by 3 points, you answer 6 more questions correctly. And if you practice, I know you can do that.
Well, what are some of the errors that students make on the ACT that maybe we can help them kind of not do this time? What are some of the errors we make?
For math students, there are 2 big areas where kids make mistakes. And number 1 is not reading the question. Looking and not reading what the question says to answer. For example, they may see an equation we're going to solve. It was multiplying polynomials, bam, we solved that. Or was solving an equation, we solved that. But it didn't say, and the student may solve for x. But the ACT question said, what is the value of x plus 2? And they just didn't read that little tag at the end. So make sure to read the question and read exactly what I'm supposed to answer. And then number 2 is going too quickly. Because some of the questions you're going to know how to do these.
That's where your watch comes in to budget your time, so you know, oh, hey, I've got time. I'll remember that.
This is a released item from 2 years ago, and it just has absolute value, which students remember absolute value. When you go quickly, the common error is just to see 4 and -4 and get the wrong answer, but we have to go back and take the absolute value, which is the correct answer. So some of the items will be very simple, but we don't want to go too fast and make a careless error. So read the item, make sure you're answering the question, and be careful of those careless errors.
You know, a lot of people get a little confused that because this is a national test, that you can't study for it. And I think it's important that we talk a minute about that again. But tell us how can I study for this test? If I'm a student and a parent and I want to help, how do I get my student ready for it, and how do I study for it?
So I think that this show, more than anything, for every student and every family watching, here's what you need to know. You must study math before the ACT.
Yeah.
You can't wing it. You have to go back and study. You have to remember your formulas. One strategy is to go by the counseling office and pick up a sample booklet, or to see your teacher who will give you some sample questions and we'll show some more. But one thing I went through is I just went through a practice test And I didn't even solve every item. I just went through and said, well, what does this item happen to be? And you'll see, like I wrote, write an expression, substitute a value, exponent rules, perimeter, multiplying a binomial. I just went through. And then when I don't know a question, ask your math teacher. You have an expert with you every other day in a block school. So take tests that are there and available, because we know that practice really does help you remember. But here's the thing, we don't want to practice what we know. Find those items you don't know and use resources. So you've got a couple of books that you can check out of your library. I like these. And so I don't know.
We were going to talk about those in a second, but that's all right. We can talk about those now. I was going to ask you, what are some of the other resources? And we've got two, we can show them right here. Conquering the ACT Math, which is an excellent, if you want to tell a little bit about that one. And we got one more that's a real winner.
Well, these are ACT books that, and remember, you can get these from your local library. You can get them from your school library. I always check out books from our school libraries. You can go like to Half Price Books. They sell them, but I went in person to the Lexington Public Library. They have a whole section at your local library.
And here's another one, the Real ACT Prep Guide, which is a really good one as well. And there's others. We just didn't have time to put them all up here, but we got several.
And so the thing to remember is this. No one is going to be like, hey, it's Thursday. Let's go study some ACT. No, and no one's going to be doing that.
I know one of the things that some people do is they have parties. And I know when my daughters took the test, because they would always come to our house and we'd order pizza and they'd study in a group. So you make it a fun thing and people enjoy that. They really seem to, the kids enjoy it and they're all working together. But along with this, I know somebody out there is thinking right now, does the ACT change every year?
So the format does not change every year. The format stays the same, where we're going to have a math test and there's going to be questions. So this year we have 60 questions and 60 minutes. We know this. Now in the future, there will be changes, but not right now. So no one has to worry about that. But in the future, it's going to be a shorter test with fewer items.
So big things are coming with the ACT down the line.
So next year we're going to have a whole bunch of things to share. But yes, so that'll be exciting.
We've kind of touched on this, but I want to make the question just so we cover it. Is the ACT a one-time only test? And I think we've kind of hinted that you can take it again, but go ahead and hold us in on that.
Well, sometimes we have a bump in the road. And so we want parents to know. If your child does, we want kids to know. If you have a bump in the road, that's okay. You may also get your scores back and it may be not what you wanted. So we know you can take the ACT over again. When you do that, you pay for the ACT. Mm-hmm. And when you sign up and you pay to take it, you get like a ticket that looks like this. You get an admission ticket. You go on Saturday. If they want you to bring your ID. If you don't have one, the school will issue a verification form. But you pay to take the ACT. But a lot of students like it better because when you pay, you can take it pencil paper. We offer it at school for free, and it's on the computer. But if you pay to take it, then you can take it pencil paper.
Now, if I want to take the test again, do I get it registered through the school or do I just do it on my own? How do I do that if I want to retake it?
Both are eligible.
Okay.
So if I am free and reduced lunch, I can go to my counselor and it doesn't cost me anything to sign up. My counselor will help me and we'll get on the computer and do that. I can do it at home with a parent or by myself. I will need a credit card to pay, but you can do it yourself. You're going to have an ACT student account and you set it up yourself and you can register and pay, or your counselor will do it for you at your high school. I wanted to add something else that I love, and I wanted to make sure parents knew this and that kids knew this. This is interesting. If you pay to take the ACT, you pay the $65 minimum, and then you pay $32 additional. So it costs you $100 to take the ACT if you pay.
If you pay.
But this is very important, Judy. I want everyone to pay attention to this. If you pay to take it again for additional $32, they call it a test information release. And at your house, you get a copy of the real test that you take on that day when you pay, and you get not only your answers, but the correct answers. So what I love about this is great for studying.
Yes, it certainly is.
So if you pay to take the ACT, you pay for the TIR, the test information release, it's additional $32, but then at your house, they mail you the exact test you take with your answers and the right answers. And isn't that great practice? I love that.
Wow, what great idea. Okay, now, So my student didn't do well, so I'm going to do it again so we know how to handle it. Now you've also got, when we talked about resources, you've got another one on the board back there. You want to go back and show everybody that?
Let's do that. So we have it is free. It's a free resource. There's lots of websites that we can choose. This website is in particular because I want everyone to know it's a bit.ly. And it is case sensitive. But this is the number one practice. This is what you've been waiting for. Every student, this is pay attention to this. This bit.ly. So it's bit.ly and it's case sensitive with FEAS ACT 25. So it's FEESE ACT 25. So my name, ACT 25. On here, let's take a look at this. Math ACT test prep. Each of these different areas you can click on at home. In the comfort of your couch, in the stands, waiting for a basketball game to start, after practice, wherever it happens to be, waiting to go to piano, you can click on any of these. And each of these happens to be, for example, an ACT math practice test questions, test tips. So you click on that if you want to know. There's another one that has to be algebra practice in the study guide zone. We have this in Fayette County that we have varsity tutors that is free for us. And so it's a link that's on here today. Another thing happens to be the Kentucky Virtual Library in the upper left-hand corner. Love that one because your librarian at your school will help you with that. The new one that's brand new, that 2025 brand new, happens to have a big A in the bottom right-hand corner. It's called Math Nation. And when you click on that, will take you to an area where in the upper left-hand corner, it says ACT Prep. There's 10 lessons. There's tutors that help the kids do those problems, that help you do that. And there's practice test. ACT Math Practice Test. It's just click on each of those and spend time. It's free. I want kids to click on that. So much fun. And it's bit.ly.feas ACT 25.
Okay. So we pretty much talked about what else can parents do to promote the ACT with their children at home, besides giving a positive image of it. So, we don't want to make it sound like it's too bad.
Well, one thing that we want to clarify with parents at home and with students, sometimes after COVID, people have said, Ms. Feast, really, I'm going to a school that's test optional. And I thought it might be interesting to talk about what does that mean. We said at the start of the show that there's two scores that every college wants. They want an ACT score, they want a math score from the ACT. Test optional means that if I don't want to accept a scholarship, I don't have to have an ACT score. I can pay my whole way to college if I want to. But here's the catch. You still must submit scores for math placement. So you can go to college without an ACT score. That is true, test optional. But the math part is not. So when I contacted EKU, they're like, yes, ma'am, you're right. You have to submit scores. And the fine print says, if a score is not provided, you will be required to go to testing. So at EKU, they say, well, we'll pull you in, and there's the EKU test, the EKU placement exam. There's the ALEX test. There's a Coyote test. I contacted BCTC, and they said, you're right, Ms. Feast, we require everybody to take the Coyote. I contacted U of L. They call it the AccuPlacer. Every college has a math test. And if you don't send your ACT score, you go all the way back to these remedial courses, and it might take you 2 or 3 years to even get to a college-bearing credit class. It's not an option. You have to do well on the math part. So that's why we want you to practice, want you to study. So important.
Well, for a quick review, let's remember, we want to make sure we have a good breakfast, that we don't forget our calculator, that we bring extra batteries, that if we wear glasses, we bring them or put them on, and also that we do not bring cell phones, sharpened pencils, come prepared, do practice ahead of time.
This is what we do not want.
No.
We do not want anybody saying, Ms. Feast, I'm lost, I don't know. No. We've given so many resources that we want you to be so prepared on test day. We want you to come with your thinking cap on, ready to learn, ready to show what you know. We want you to be prepared. We've got so many resources, and your math teacher is right there to help you as well.
And plus, you've got plenty of time, because by the great folks at Fayette County who helped put this show together, you've got a couple of months now to get prepared as we tape this show. Take advantage of it and prepare yourself before you go. and it'll be a lot less pressure. Or as we like to say, our philosophy with homemade math is that parents can build a bridge between math and their children in school and at home. And mostly have fun with math. Know that everything that you do is to encourage and promote math does make a difference. And we want to thank once again, we couldn't do this show without some wonderful people that you don't get to see but who really put this together. We want to thank Vernon Bentley, Carrington Walker, Linda Dawhare, and also Robert Lewis. We couldn't do it without them. And before we leave today, I want to take a moment to just remember our dear friend who was with Fayette County Public Schools for 36 years, a great director. You heard him many times as a sports announcer. He made the sports, for instance, come alive on FCPS station here. Just did a great job, Dick Simpson. And unfortunately, we lost Dick on December 19th of 2024. He was a wonderful person to work with. I had the privilege of working with him for 20 years, and he was a great gentleman. Never heard him say a word about anybody. He was always positive and always willing to do things. So it is with respect and love we bid goodbye to our friend Dick Simpson. Thank you for joining us. It's been Natalie Feast and Judy Conway. Goodbye.